You know, my practice growth, and I want to say this without being cliche, but my practice growth is directly tied, and my CE is directly tied to my CEREC path and my cone beam path. When I bought CEREC, the goal was to do onlays and crowns. And then they opened up the ability to start doing implants with it, so I learned implants. Then they opened up the ability to start doing sleep appliances with it, so I started doing sleep apnea. Now they're opening up the ability to do endo, so we're going to do more endo. And to me, yes, it's a tool, it's a fancy robot, or whatever you want to call it, but it's a path. It's a clear path as a company invests and as they create more opportunities of what you can do in your practice. It is your CE pathway. And I think that we don't spend enough time helping dentists to see that, because dentists are so confused. I was talking to some young guys last week, and they were so confused about, oh my God, and especially our young dentists, like, do I go down this, or do I do this, or do I do this?
There's so much out there.
And they were literally like, I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
You know, they're literally like, I can't make a
Analysis
decision.
paralysis.
And I'm like, dude, I said, do what I did, and pick a technology that helps your practice today, and then grow with it. And if you buy something for your practice that doesn't have a path forward, it's probably not a good choice for you. There's got to be something more than what you need today. There's got to be something a few years down the road and 5 years down the road. And that to me is a sign of a good product.
Well, and that's where T-Bone shines too, is like, you have it, now this is how you're going to use it, and not let it sit over in the corner, or not get the whole team and it's all on you.
It's not a hanger for your jacket.
I think they're too expensive now for that.
They're expensive. So tell me about how long did it take for you to see ROI? Because I mean, a lot of dentists are saying that, you know, those machines are very expensive. I don't want to know if I want to make that investment. What would you say? I mean, how long did it take?
I love that term.
T-Bone's like 7 days.
I'll let him take that.
No. Listen, let me tell you my story with CEREC, okay? Because that's where I started. When I started, cone beam didn't exist as something that general dentists were buying. Okay? So 2003, I bought my CEREC machine. I struggled mightily with that thing. I had literally had arguments with my Sirona reps at the time, my Patterson rep at the time, because Patterson was the exclusive distributor at the time. Literally, we had arguments. In fact, I gave back my first CEREC machine. I asked them to take it back 4 months later. And so I failed with CEREC the first time. And I'm probably one of their top 10 advocates in the United States for CEREC today. And so there is a learning curve. Anybody says that there isn't a learning curve is selling you BS.
My partner got one in 2001. I joined him in 2003, and it sat in the corner until I talked him into buying the new one.
Wow.
I mean, we used it-ish.
But here's what I will tell you is why people, the number one reason people struggle with it is they're not prepared for it mentally, okay? So the software is at a point now where it does 80% of the work for you, okay? Digital imaging, there's no more powdering, listen, we've made, from when I started in 2003, we've made such strides. I mean, it's not just, I used to, when I first started speaking for them, I said, it's not the same CEREC your father looked at, okay? I mean, it's
really
not.
not.
I mean, it's not.
They've evolved so much.
So they've grown so much, right? And I think the challenge is that we're not mentally prepared to go through some of the struggles that happen no matter what technology you buy. There's always pain. Because for most practices, we live a pretty, clockwork life, okay? And now we put something in that interrupts that clockwork.
Update our computers.
You know, just update our scheduling.
Yeah.
You know, instead of scheduling the patient for 1 hour prep and a half an hour delivery 2 weeks later, now we're doing an hour and a half all at once. So, and then now we're taking team members who don't love change, okay, and now we're asking them to change.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to be mentally prepared for some of these things, okay? And I think I can tell you from my end of things, that was what my failure was, is that I expected this thing to walk in and just fit in to exactly the way I was doing it with no energy or effort. And it didn't really turn out that way.
You expected it to take a life of its own on and just...
I expected it to be literally turn it on and make it happen.
Yeah.
I needed to put the effort in.
It's the same thing with sleep.
And today, absolutely. And so today with the training programs that exist, a reasonable learning curve is 3 to 6 months. In 3 to 6 months, that all these technologies, whether it's CAD/CAM with CEREC, whether it's cone beam with Orthophos or whatever products you look at, 3 to 6 months, that stuff should be working. You got to put the time in. You got to take the education.
Absolutely. And let's talk about education. How important is CE to you guys and with what you do?
You can go ahead, Peggy.
I know you both have an opinion on this.
Yeah, of course.
I never expected to be in this position. I wasn't looking for it. But what I was hoping is to help other dentists learn from my mistakes, and really, I feel like I can't get enough sleep, so I'm hungry for it. I'm out there learning as much as I can, and then it's my job to come back and break it down to how we can apply it to our patients. And that's what he's kind of helped me do over the last few years I've been working with him, is stop making it so complicated. But I want to spread the word that sleep is something we should be talking to our patients about, we could be doing in our office. If I can do it, you can do it. It's maybe easy for me to say, but I am a regular dentist in Idaho,
You are, and I've heard you speak, and I know that you're not like the most comfortable with it sometimes, but you're really good at it, and you're just very I
get excited to help dentists get excited.
You just tell them how it is, and your experience, and you're very passionate about it, and I love to see that. Well,
and then I feel like I've really found a home with 3D dentists in order to help make that happen. But the amount of interaction and the relationships that we can build with the people that we're educating, and really team focused, because that's the key. So many times we have dentists sign up by themselves. We're like, you got to bring team, and every single time they're like, I should have brought team.
Right. So important.
And just the experience that we can create when we also get people excited about learning it. Yeah. Breaking down the barriers, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
CE for me is twofold. First and foremost, it's what created the success that I've achieved. From that, for me, I was very fortunate. I'm upfront with people about this. My parents gifted me $10,000 when I got out of dental school. In our culture, their expectation is that you go in to be a specialist. I didn't have the grades to be or the recommendations to be a specialist, or didn't happen to know enough people to help me get in somewhere. And frankly, I didn't want to do it.
I was going to say, did you want to?
Well, part of it is you set yourself up not wanting to because you knew you couldn't do it, right? But so they said, hey, listen, so since you failed and couldn't get into specialty school, let us gift you some money, and here's the rules. You have to use it to take education. Okay, so that seed was so unbelievably important to me. And I took several dud classes that weren't any good, but they were so important for me because it helped me realize what was good. Right. And then I took some education that really laid the foundation for what my practice became and the business model we developed in our practice. And then I started sharing cases on places, the social media of the time, which was Dental Town in the early 2000s, and the little bulletin boards through Google and things like that. And I started sharing cases, and people started asking me to help them, and I just freely shared. And then, the entrepreneur in me kicked in, and I said, "Hey, let's look at an education company." And the way I built the education company was quite simple. It was, what do I like about education, and how would I like to receive my own education, and let's provide that to people. I hated going to places and not knowing what hotel to stay at, trying to figure out where the hell I should go, how to get there, how not to get there, worried about how do I get from the hotel to the training center, where the class is, how to figure out how to coordinate all those things.
Where are we going to go to dinner?
It's hard enough. And then how to do dinner alone. I hate eating alone. I absolutely hate it. And what to do afterwards. I go back to the hotel room and sleep at 7 o'clock because I don't want to sleep at 7 o'clock. I want to at least stay up till like 9:30. And so all of those things. And then I was a bit thinner then than I am now, but I didn't like being crammed up with people and not having a desk. And especially when it came to technology training, I didn't like having to share computers with people because I'm technologically oriented and I'm ready to move, and I may be next to somebody that's trying to figure out how the hell which is the left, literally my first experience was which one is the left button. I'm like, oh my god. help me, you know, and I'm like, how did I get stuck with this guy? And that's what 3D Dentist became. Yeah. And, you know, when I bought our current building in 2008, I had a dream and a vision to build a very small training center on the second floor. And over time, what's happened is what goes on downstairs, which is the dental practice, when we implement things, when we figure out the workflow, it translates into what we do upstairs. And one of the things I'm the most proud of with our training stuff is that we're family. You know, when you invest in us, we invest in you. You get out of us what you ask of us. If you ask nothing, you get nothing. If you ask a lot, we will never say you'll never hear me say come to one of our courses. You'll never hear me say you should come to our course or to learn that, come to our class. Just not who I am.
There's two things. First is I could have specialized but chose not to. But the second, and now I'm going to forget what I was going to say. Is that he does even offer like a money back guarantee, right? Like if you came and you feel like you didn't get anything out of it, I'll give you your money back.
That's nice. That's good.
But just like when we were talking to those young kids, there's so much out there. And like we kept talking about the noise. And essentially what he says is find someone that you identify with, that you learn from, that you hear from, and who talks the language that you want to hear.
And be committed.
And I don't have to be that person for you.
Right.
But if you are, this is where you can go.
And be committed.
Be committed.
That's huge.
See, I think one of the things that happens, and sleep is, you know, if we get back to sleep on this, is what happens, and we see it all the time, and I'm sure it's happened to us as educators as well, is, well, okay, I'm going to go learn from you, and then I'm going to take this class, and we all have different ways of doing things, right? And before we ever actually do it in our practices, we've heard 6 different ways of doing it, and none of it jives together.
And then
right?
you do nothing.
And then we end up doing nothing, right? So go with the way that speaks to you, and then like go through it, and then learn, and then keep learning. Never stop learning. You know, you'll never hear me say never stop learning. I mean, there's no bad CE class in my opinion. Everything teaches you a lesson.
Yeah. Right. So would you say, that was the question we can segue into, what would be the most important tip that either one of you would give to a dentist that wants to incorporate sleep into their practice?
I start the whole lecture with, and this is a little cliche now, but it's so true, is finding your why, because you will get some obstacles put up against you, and I did. I was told it's just a fad, it doesn't work. Just drop it. You'll never get paid.
It's a fad. Oh my gosh.
I heard this is 10 years ago.
Sleep
it was told it was a
It's
fad.
a lifetime fad.
It's so funny. It's like now it's a hot topic. I'm like, it's been a hot topic.
But in a way, it has. For me, this is my second cycle around with sleep. You know, I did sleep the first time in 2006, 2007. We did pretty good with it, but then it petered out.
Yeah. So what I say is start with why, right? Who is that person for you that you helped? For you, you have your why. It was yourself getting passed around to how many healthcare providers.
Right.
T-Bone had plenty of photo ops of him falling asleep and his wife being driven crazy by his snoring, right? And for me, I love to sleep, but it was helping my dad. And as soon as you get that first patient that has that eureka moment of you changed my life, I don't see how you can unsee it or let it not work in your practice.
Right.
So I think that's the first step is to not letting it peter out or come back and do nothing with it.
Yeah, that's got to be so fulfilling when a patient says, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming again. I had a vivid dream.
Hey, I'm not peeing as much. You know, little things like that, you know.
Oh, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. You know, for me, my number one advice would probably be a little bit more pragmatic, because sometimes we don't know our why until we experience it. We don't know how we reached our destination until we actually get there, correct? And for me, we are facing, listen, I firmly believe that we practice or live in the best time to be a dentist, and dentistry is quite, in my opinion, the best profession in the world. I haven't experienced a lot of different ones, but it's an unbelievable profession because we control our destiny. We choose how much or how little we make. We choose how hard we work, how little we work. Those are all choices we make, okay? And to me, people would die to be in our positions as professionals.
Yes,
okay?
absolutely.
We are blessed.
You know, we are so fortunate, okay? And to me, we're facing massive changes in our industry right now. We have things like corporate dentistry, okay, private equity money, We have dental, insurances, dental, medical even now. We have the noise of direct-to-consumer marketing, which is just beginning, by the way. Okay, because Smile Direct Club recently signed a thing to be in CVS stores. Aspen Dental signed to be in Walgreens or wherever they are at. So we're going to see more and more direct-to-consumer stuff. It's just beginning. And so the question is whereas many practices, and many practices to me are 1 to 2 docs, maybe up to 3 docs, where do we fit into the picture? And for those of us that have another 15, 20, or 25 years in our profession, we have to do something. No, it will not be enough to do what got us to this point. Okay, if you got 5 or 6 years left, just ride it out. You'll be okay. All right. I'm talking about in profession. Okay.
Right.
But if you got, look, I'm 43 years old. I got another 20 years.
You got a while.
Okay, I know that I've got to change my game. I've got to. I got to do something different. And what I look at, and what I'll say to every dentist I meet, is play in a ballpark where there's less competition. Okay, and for me, there's lots of competition in hygiene services, there's lots of competition in fillings, there's lots of competition in crowns, there's lots of competition in extraction, there's lots of competition in root canals, but where there isn't a whole lot of competition are things like dental implants, things like orthodontics, things like sleep apnea, things like dental sedation.
SOI.
Yeah, I call it SOI.
All of our specialties at MedMark, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Instead of ROI, it's SOI.
I call it SOI instead of ROI, sleep, ortho, and implants.
And sedation.
And sedation, right? And so to me is we've got to change our game. And for me, that's what I've focused on. And that's what led me to sleep and implants. And I found my why once I got to that point. But for me, it was about foreseeing survival 5, 10, 15 years from now. Because I don't want to work for somebody else. I don't. It's not in my makeup. I chose dentistry.
I'd like to see that.
I know. That'd be a tough one.
I chose dentistry to be my own boss, to control my own destiny, to whether I fail, die by my own sword. If I fail my own efforts.
Right.
Okay.
That's the entrepreneurial mindset.
And so to me, sleep is sleep. And by the way, I surveyed 5,000 dental professionals last year in 2018. 6.9% of my respondents. And by the way, I'm speaking to people that are into technology or into CE, into all of these things. Okay. So they're, probably top 30, 40%, 20, 25, 30% of practices. Only 6.9% of them were providing sleep apnea services in their practice.
Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's insane.
When we have at least 3 or 4 patients a day walking
and let's think about this, okay? And I'll get to the statistics of this to really, and this applies to implants and ortho as well, but sleep is just, oh my God, is really what it is. I read a statistic recently that there's 1 billion sleep apneics in the world. That's 1 out of 7 human beings. So that means, statistically speaking, 1 out of 7 of your patients in your practice have sleep apnea. 80 to 90% of that don't even know that. Okay?
What about just a sleep-related condition? Maybe not sleep apnea.
Sure. Then
so like 1 in 3, 1 in 4.
Sure. Then we can look at high blood pressures. It's estimated that 1/3 of blood pressure patients have high blood pressure patients have sleep apnea. If they're on multiple meds or failed meds with blood pressure, then 3/4 to 80%. Then we can look at diabetics. Then the list goes on and on. And when people say these patients don't exist, I want to hit them. And then when people say my patients can't afford it, I go, do your patients have a JOB? Okay, and if your patients have a JOB, they probably have some level of benefits. It's hard with all this mandate we've seen over the last 10 years. You can't have a job and not have medical insurance, correct?
Right.
So medical insurance, sleep apnea is a medically diagnosed condition. There is medical benefits for it. Because you are unwilling to go through the trouble of learning how to break down barriers for your patient, don't say it doesn't work. I'll tell you this, we have a 98% success rate in our practice of getting paid for our sleep apnea appliances. 98%.
That's awesome.
But it should be 100%. Okay, we screwed 2% up. Okay, because it's a medically diagnosed condition.
Well, and
you
also
follow
creating the
hoops.
value where the patient doesn't care how much it costs. Like
Sure.
that's ideal, but
That's
I
La
know
La
it's
Land.
not.
Well, that's La La Land.
Well,
okay.
yeah, but there's a subset of people like I would have paid whatever.
We have
to
people
get
pay
well.
how
I
much
would
for
have paid
ortho.
whatever. Yeah,
Right.
And this is
But
you know,
exactly.
but there's a.
I know I'm
so
so
no,
it's
but
easy
let's
for me to say.
So let's get into that a little bit, okay? If we have some time left, let's talk about some practical tips that dentists can do in their practice, okay? One, we can talk about education. We can talk about all the noise going on there. But let's really get down to brass tacks, okay? If we want to take care of our patients, we have to address three things. We have to address their time, their fear, and their money. And time is all about convenience, okay? Mm-hmm. Am I available early, late, middle of the day, Friday? Look, when I started dentistry, it was Monday through Thursday, and that was it. Okay, now it's Monday through Friday. Now we're considering, hey, how do we prepare for the future by adding Saturday hours? Okay, so, and that was unheard of when 20 years ago when I started being a dentist, okay? Mm-hmm. So time is about convenience. Fear is one, we can do sedation, but fear is also the unknown. Like what's going on in my life? How do I know? How can we address those things? And then the money is, we always say it's the money, but money, there's a price and affordability are two different things, okay? It's in other words, how do we make people afford what they need? Not even what they want. Let's just get past the want part of it. Let's just focus on what they need, okay? With sleep specifically, here's how we make sleep affordable for our patients. Two ways. Okay, one, we leverage medical insurance to the best benefits they have available to them. And every one of our patients that has medical insurance has benefits available to them. They just may not qualify for those benefits because of deductibles, copays, blah, blah, blah. And then step two of that
but that's where an experienced team member on your side comes in and figures that out.
Right, and that essentially boils down to an effective payment plan. How can we help make this affordable for you, make it a couple of $100s a month? Mm-hmm. Because very few people, and I would argue that if I talked to 100 dentists in the room and said, spit out $3,000 to pay for something for me, that they would, 3/4 of them would cry about it, okay? And then we complain when our patients cry about it. Right. But if I said, hey, we can make it $150 a month for a year and a half, people sign up for that. So we have to make it affordable, not price, but we have to make it affordable for our patients, okay? Mm-hmm. And then let's look at it from a team perspective. When it comes to a team, I believe in a concept called replace yourself. We have to teach our team members, how can you replace yourself so that you can grow? Because too many of us complain that we can't maintain, attract, and keep great team members. And how many people, just think about this in your own life, okay? How many friends have you talked to and they say, I'm moving jobs, or I'm leaving jobs, and you say, why? Well, I didn't see an upward path for me. And human beings want an upward path. Mm-hmm. Okay, so provide an upward path for your patients, and sleep has been that for my team members. My team members can, I took Liz in my office, who is my chairside assistant, that made my life super easy. It was very hard for me to let her go from being chairside, and we put her into a role of running sleep for us. Mm-hmm. And it started off as a part-time role, assisting on the same time and doing this on the side. And as that part of the business grew, because we had a champion or a leader of that, it became an option for her. And she'll tell you that she has more satisfaction. She works physically way less hard. She works mentally harder, okay?
Yeah,
but
challenged.
She's
but
challenged.
Rocking it, I'm sure.
And she has an unlimited potential. Mm-hmm. Okay, the more
That's
she can
awesome.
grow, the more, what more can a team member want? Right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
What I'm hearing from people is all these challenges, and I always say, just look in the mirror. What are you doing to make that? And then teach your team members to replace themselves, teach your team members to know the score, okay? Teach your team members to keep track. You only succeed at those things you keep track of, okay? Imagine playing a basketball game and you had no idea whether you were down by 1 point, 2 point, or 3 points. Do you take a 3-point shot? Do you take a 2-point shot? Do you try to get to the free throw? How can you win a game? How can you win at anything?
And then when you look at the actual numbers, you're like, oh, I thought it was better than that.
Yeah.
So
how can you win a game if you don't know the score? And that's the other part of this confusion. There's all these fancy softwares out there that teach you too many things. It's fundamentally simple. My team members all know our production and collections in our office, so they should, okay? That's made available to them. But then each individual team member has an area that they're responsible for, and they know the score of their area. Mm-hmm. They don't need to know the score of all this other stuff going on in the practice, but they need to know their area.
Right.
And then we teach a concept with team members to own their space. Just own up to it. If you make a mistake, say, my bad, let's go on. Let's, at the end of the day, Chris Webber called a timeout, okay, when there was no timeouts left, and he owned up to it, okay? You make a mistake. You fumbled. The guy from Philadelphia dropped a pass that could have helped them win the game. He owned up to it. A field goal kicker missed a field goal, and if you in the dental practice, if I missed a field goal to win the game, most of our team members would be like, I didn't do that. But I have a video showing you did that, right?
Yeah.
So teach team members to own up to it.
That's so fundamental.
But the fundamental concept there is we have done a poor job as dental leaders of telling our team members that it's okay to fail. You got to make it safe to fail. You do not succeed without failing first. Bottom line. Okay, I almost went bankrupt my first year in practice. I almost went bankrupt in 2008. Okay, so it's got to be. You got to make an environment where it's safe to fail. We are so telling our team members that we can't fail. We can't fail. They're never gonna. Nobody's gonna try anything new if you make it hard to fail.
Right.
Okay, and then when it comes to being clinically involved, just add more services. The key isn't doing more of the same things you're doing. It's just do more services. Maximize. In the motel industry, we try to maximize our daily rate, and I try to maximize our rate from patients. So I try to be able to offer you, Lisa, as a patient, hey, we can do hygiene for you, we can do all these basic things, but hey, Lisa, you may need ortho. Hey, Lisa, you may miss a tooth and now you need implants. Hey, Lisa, you may need sleep. Hey, Lisa, you may need soft tissue grafting. Hey, we can provide those services here in the office. Whether I do those myself or whether I bring in another professional colleague to do those for me. And if we focus on those three areas, how it benefits our patients, how it benefits our team, and how it benefits our clinical growth, we will win at this game of dentistry, and we will have an unbelievable life, and that
time, money, and professional satisfaction.
That's pretty much it, right?
Yep.
And those things apply to no matter what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to do more ortho, more implants, more sleep, more root canals, more amalgams, whatever it is you want to do. Those are the principles that universally apply, and our profession has gone berserk with all this fancy gizmos and gadgetry and all these fancy softwares, and we've gotten away from fundamental concepts that will last a lifetime. All right, that's my spiel.
Oh, wow. That is some great advice, both of you. I think we're going to leave it there because that's like dropping the mic. Boom.
I just get so passionate about it because
I love it.
Business is not hard. Business is pretty simple. Bring in more than you put out and figure out how to bring in more.
Right, and solve problems for your patients, and in any business that you're in, we solve problems for our clients, and we help them.
Just ask them what they want.
Exactly, because they'll tell you. They will tell you.
Like when we added Friday hours. Before we added Friday hours, I asked my team members, just write down every time a patient asks you if we have Friday hours. Right. And it's amazing how many patients ask you. And it was at least 8 people a week. I'm like, all right, then there's our patients. There's our survey. There's our survey. We're done.
Yeah.
All right, well, patients tell us.
Survey Monkey for that.
Yeah, we don't need to spend money on that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to save money in the wrong places is basically what drives me crazy. We'll create success by focusing on top line, not focusing on the bottom line. The bottom line will take care of itself.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. It was so much fun to have you on DocTalk today with us. Thank you. You guys will come back, hopefully?
Anytime you want.
Yeah, next time you're in Scottsdale.
Oh, yeah. We'll do this. We'll be here next year.
I'll take my meds before I come next time.
I think you did just great. This is amazing information. We'll push it out on other channels as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for another edition of DocTalk Dental, and we'd like to thank Dent Supply Sirona for sponsoring this episode today. If you'd like more information on their company, please go to dentsupplySirona.com. And if you'd like more information on Dental Sleep Practice magazine, as well as all of our other MedMark publications, please go to MedMarkMedia.com. We look forward to seeing you guys again soon on another DocTalk Dental. Thanks, everyone. Take care.